It says here, in its latest efforts to appease regulators, electronic cigarette maker Juul said Thursday it would stop selling its creme fruit, berry, and mango flavored pods in the U.S. until the products have been reviewed by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. The company will, however, continue to sell its popular menthol-based flavors, including mint. The company is being investigated by the FDA as well as the Federal Trade Commission, federal prosecutors in California, and several state attorneys generals for advertising that allegedly misled users and made unverified claims about its product safety. Adding to Juul's woes, the e-cigarette industry has been under intense scrutiny since a mysterious vaping-related illness known as Avali, I may be butchering that, spread across the U.S., sickening nearly 1,500 people and killing 33. It's just not looking good for Juul, and I know at one point the CEO of Juul put out a statement saying to just stop using it, which that can't be good for business. Well, none of this can either, and I imagine their shareholders are they're just dipping, they're just out the door. It's incredible how big this company got and how quickly they seem to just be tanking. So as we all know, the whole situation, it's a weird spot. The whole situation is that like they claim that the e-cigarettes are marketed towards people who smoke cigarettes, and they're using the e-cigarette as a tool in order to wean themselves off of cigarettes. Maybe for those who go into it with that intention, use it for that purpose, and they get out the other side okay. But there are people, there's way more people who never smoked before, and all of the, the flashy commercials that Juul is putting out with all the fruity flavors. It's attractive it's attractive. It makes smoking look attractive, especially towards, younger kids and, the younger audience. So they're picking it up. And I think later on in the article, it gets into a percentage of how many kids are now smoking, and I think there are other studies where like kids who just never smoked before are now addicted to smoking because they're smoking stuff with nicotine in it. The whole situation's wild. I get the argument for the people who are saying like, hey, but I use it for to wean myself off of cigarettes and it works for them, but it's the way they marketed it. And I also get the argument where like it's like, hey, I want to be able to, the people who are actually using it for the right reasons are like, hey, I want to have all the, I want to have these fruity flavors, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm gonna keep my opinion out of this one because that the whole situation's wild. I'm gonna continue reading on. Many health advocates, including the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, have called for the complete ban on flavored e-cigarettes continuing to market menthol and mint pods. They say will do little to deter teen vaping, which has skyrocketed in recent years. And it says here, according to the CDC, from 2017 to 2018, youth vaping increased by 78%. 1 in 5 high schoolers say they vaped in the last 30 days. And that's the biggest thing. Like, what was it? Recent increases in the use of e-cigarettes is driving increases in tobacco product use among youth. The number of middle school and high school students using e-cigarettes rose from 2.1 million in 2017 to 3.6 million in 2018, a difference of about 1.5 million youth. Damn. I'm going to continue on. In September, the Trump administration threatened to ban all flavored vaping products, including mint and menthol. 1 month and more than 500 Avali, whatever cases later, the ban has not materialized. Are you surprised by that? Garrett Nelson, a senior equity analyst at CFRA Research, says mint and menthol accounts for 85% of Juul sales in the U.S. So what it looks like is Juul was like, hey, yeah, we're complying. We're more than willing to, take all this stuff off the market because, we for the kids, but they keep the flavor that covers 85% of their income. Or they keep the flavor that's responsible for 85% of their income. That you didn't slide under the radar with that one. According to the data from 2019 National Youth Tobacco Survey, over 60% of high schoolers use mint flavored e-cigarettes, nearly the same number as use fruit flavored pods. They worded that a little weird. Outside the US and countries like the Philippines, Juul's mango, and creme flavors are still available in France, the UK, and Italy. The company continues to sell several fruit and dessert flavors, including apple, berry, and vanilla. But I don't know if those other countries like are having the same problems we are. I have no idea. So I was curious to see how much our kids are smoking here in the US in comparison to some other countries. I specifically just picked the UK. According to CNN, but in the UK, there doesn't appear to be an outbreak of vaping-related sickness. Neither has vaping popularity soared among young people who never smoked. Rather, e-cigarettes have been embraced mostly as a way for adults to quit cigarettes. Indeed, health authorities in the UK stand by their support for e-cigarettes as a cessation tool. If you don't smoke, don't vape, said John Newton, director of the Health Improvement at Public Health England. And then this article goes on to say, PHE's advice remains that e-cigarettes are a fraction of the risk of smoking, and using one makes it much more likely you'll quit successfully than relying on willpower alone. What's the difference? Regulation, especially on advertising and promotion, and the levels of nicotine in vaping products. In the UK, the culture is that this is a replacement and not an initiation product. Interesting. So most of the difference here is just culture, I guess. And I guess when I read that, I think about the fact that like in the US, like in comparison to other countries, we're huge on like Ford trucks. Like I think the Ford F-150 is the #1 vehicle in the US. Maybe that's a weird comparison. I just pick something that I know like other countries don't really use as much. In the US, we love our fucking trucks. And so I guess what I'm getting at is like, you know, maybe for whatever reason in our culture, like the kids they just gravitate more and are easily susceptible to smoking for whatever reason. I hope that makes sense. Funny story about smoking. I remember when I was in high school, I tried smoking like on and off for, I tried smoking cigarettes on and off for like 1 or 2 months, like 1.5 or 2 months or something like that. I can't remember exactly how long it was, and I hated it. I was just a dumbass that wanted to be cool and get in with this group, I guess, or become closer with this group of people. But I did not like smoking cigarettes, so I smoked on and off. Half the time I didn't finish a full cigarette, or sometimes I did. I don't know. Eventually, I wound up just like getting a sling bag and just like, oh yeah, this is great, yeah, and then tossing it in the sling bag or whatever. And I had I remember I had a sling bag just filled with cigarettes that were like half smoked or not smoked at all. They were just crushed, or like I would get one from a friend and just shove it in my pocket and throw it out or whatever. And I tried to hide that sling bag filled with cigarettes in the attic, and my mom found it, and she was fucking furious for good reason. And then like years later, I finally she believed me when I explained like, hey, I really just didn't like them, and I was trying to be cool, so I kept accepting them from my friends, and then just like pocketing them or being like, fantastic. And then, you know, I don't know what I was thinking. But here I am many years later, and I still fucking hate the smell of cigarettes. I think it's gross, and I would never, cigarettes, no. And I remember, I think there was one day where I was like, I was hanging out with them one day, and I was like, listen guys, I don't like cigarettes. I'm done with this. That's enough. And they didn't give a shit. You know, it was mostly just me trying to fit in.